Searching for the Truth. A fantasy. Written by Crysta. Featuring the voice of Crysta as Kaylee. Guardian of the Woods. Resolved in her decision, Kaylee squares her shoulders and continues deeper into the forest, ignoring the snags of branches at her nightgown and hair. The coarser twigs she pushes through are harder to ignore, leaving painful cuts on her exposed arms and legs each time they swing back.
Ow! This one stings.
She pauses to gaze at a reddening welt forming on her arm, wincing as her fingers brush against the inflamed skin, causing another surge of pain.
I can't keep wandering through thick underbrush like this. I need to find a path.
As she looks around, her eyes widen in astonishment. The forest's towering trees stretch ever skyward, their branches intertwining to create a natural canopy that filters the sunlight. Despite their majestic appearance, an eerie stillness hangs in the air, enveloping the tree trunks covered in ivy and moss, creating a disquieting atmosphere. Occasionally broken by a soft ghostly hoo of an owl. Amidst the muted silence, the only sounds that persist are the insistent buzzing of winged insects, their incessant hum resonating in her ears. The relentless chorus adds to her unease, intensifying the growing sense of fear that rises in her throat. She takes a deep breath, trying to steady herself, but a wave of disorientation washes over her, making her knees weak. With cautious steps, she maneuvers through the dense forest, her senses on high alert. The ground beneath her feet feels soft and damp, the earth giving a slight squelching sensation with each step. Her fingertips, grazing against the rough bark of the towering tree trunks, provide a fleeting sense of security. Navigating through the trees, she gradually comes to a halt, positioned between a pair of colossal trunks at the threshold of an animal trail. A surge of delight courses through her, as she observes the multitude of tracks and fresh droppings, scattered across the flattened underbrush. The musky odor of wet earth and decaying foliage, intermixing with the aroma from a fresh pile of dung, floats up to meet her nasal receptors. She scrunches up her nose and lets out a sneeze.
Excuse me. Once I'm out of these blasted woods, I can swim to safety. If I'm careful, I can even return home and look for clues on the whereabouts of Mom and Dad.
Taking in the scene, she gathers her courage, passing the next hour as she continues along the trail, alternating between a light jog and weary walking. Trusting the moss-covered bark on the trees to guide her in a southern direction, towards the shimmering sea that should lie beyond the forest. Fatigue slows her pace as she arrives at a fork in the trail, causing uncertainty to cloud her thoughts. Contemplating her next move, she studies the right-hand path, overgrown with thick underbrush. It offers the promise of hiding from prying eyes. However, this idea is quelled as she sidesteps for a better view around a dense thicket, partially obscuring her way. Despair grips her when she notices an old woman seated on a worn-out boulder in the small clearing beyond. The soft rustling of the elder's weathered satchel fills the otherwise muted surroundings. Quickly hiding behind the nearest tree trunk, she holds her breath as she scans the clearing, fixating on the stranger, silently praying the old woman will soon depart.
Where is it?
The woman asks the trees, her rasping voice dry with age. Kaylee exhales, with an overwhelming sense of dismay. The old woman's persistence is palpable, as she refuses to budge until she lays hands on the elusive item. Memories from the past echo in Kaylee's mind. The first, admonishments from her parents about the rudeness of ignoring an elder in need, and the second from Juniper.
Remember to call her grandmother. Mother always says, it's a sign of respect we should give to all our elders.
Taking a calming breath and a moment to try and smooth her knotted hair, Kaylee hesitantly takes a few steps toward the woman.
Where is what, grandmother?
She calls softly. The elder woman's startled eyes lift from her satchel, brows knitted in surprise.
My.
Seeming not to trust her own eyesight, she blinks repeatedly.
And who may you be? It's not often I'm visited by the forest spirits wandering these woods.
Kaylee stops, frozen by the intense scrutiny of the woman's squinted gaze. Nervously intertwining her fingers, she looks down at her disheveled form. She knows her hair to be a mess of twigs, mud, and leaves, by her futile attempt to finger comb it moments ago. It seems the state of her nightgown hasn't fared much better. Her white cotton night shift, now stained collar to skirt hem with smeared soil and remnants of wet grass, still hangs limply down to her knees, barely offering any protection to cover the old, dark bruising and new welts on her limbs. Though she's prepared for this question, she hesitates. Last night, as she lay on her cot, puzzling over what name to use, should anyone ever question her, the answer came instantly. 8 years ago, she met the other elemental children from the neighboring realms. She was 5 years old, that summer vacation that gave birth to countless more, each filled with cherished memories. That first year, they all became part of the children's code in Edgewater, with each elemental adopting fragments of the other's names to create secret identities. Kaylee, who took on the name June, responded readily. Similarly, Juniper was quick to answer to the name Lee. Jade, a native of Earth Gorge, embraced the alias Fenny, while Phoenix, originating from Fire Heights, jumped at the chance to adopt the name Jaden. A sad sigh escapes her as she raises her gaze to meet the piercing stare of the elder. Her heart, still breaking with remorse over the postponement of last summer's reunion, caused by her illness and the cost of her parents' solo journey without her. A cost she is still paying.
I'm Juniper,
she answers,
though I prefer June.
As soon as the name is spoken, Kaylee knows it's the only moniker she should use as she continues her escape and search. It's time for the name Kaylee to disappear. She only hopes the childhood codename will be enough to save her life and reunite her with her loved ones. Taking a step closer, she adds,
I mean you no harm. Can I help you find what you're looking for?
She hopes the elder will refuse her offer, letting her continue on her urgent quest. Stopping to help the old woman will only detain her, posing an alarming risk of being found, or worse, captured and stopped short in her bid to finally take her future into her own hands. With a shake of her silver-haired head, the elder declines.
No, child, I've no need of your help. You, on the other hand, look as though you may be in need of mine. Come, join me and sit a spell. Tell me what brings you to Wildwoods.
An inward groan of disappointment escapes her, as June looks over her shoulder, listening for any sounds of pursuers crashing through the foliage in search of her. Her anxious imagination whispers that at any moment, someone may jump out from behind a tree to drag her back to the shack prison, but she doesn't hear anything.
Nobody has come by looking for you yet,
the woman says with a warm smile.
You have time enough to sit and tell me your story.
June startles, eyeing the old woman with trepidation.
Is she reading my thoughts?
Aside from that question, June decides the frail lady, dressed in a brush-brown velvet travel smock that reaches her feet, poses no threat. The elder's silver hair, elegantly arranged in a tidy bun atop her head, enhances her grandmother-like demeanor. Closing the distance with a reluctant nod, June takes a seat on the opposite rock and carefully lowers the pillowcase to the ground at her feet. Her tense and sore shoulders, glad to be free of the weight. Opening the pillowcase, she pulls out a heel of bread and breaks it in two, before leaning forward to offer the elder a half. In murmured tones, June reveals her reason for being there.
I'm searching for my parents. They disappeared a year ago without a trace while traveling. When the news reached my home, sudden arrangements were made for me to stay with some relatives. However, they're poor, and I suspect they're now seeking some kind of payment. They've taken me in much longer than they expected.
Your relations, are they the folks that built that poor excuse for a farm on the north side of Wildwoods about a year ago now?
The woman asks, interrupting June with a knowing smile.
Yes, but no real relatives of mine would ever live so far from the water. Though I suppose the distance from everyone and everything does prevent anybody from eavesdropping on the beatings. Of course, one would guess it might make a plot to sell me quite difficult too, but they still managed to do so.
She doesn't realize she's spoken aloud until the elder woman interjects.
Now I see. That makes you Princess Kaylee from Edgewater. Yes, your parents are King Darrell Sunnies and Queen Vera Gacy's.
Stunned to hear her parents' names, June stuffs a piece of bread into her mouth to muffle an outburst. The moment she regains composure, she asks,
Grandmother?
Don't look so shocked, child.
The woman says through a chuckle.
News of such events travels far even out here. You were wise to give a false name. Henceforth, you will be known as June Forrester, granddaughter to Dame Forrester.
Who's Dame Forrester, Grandmother?
'Tis I, child. Should anyone question you, you must tell them you're on an errand for your grandmother in Wildwoods, and never tell anyone your true identity.
Why not?
June asks, curious whether the elder's reasons for coming to that conclusion match her own. The old woman sighs, her face somber. From the opposite rock, June watches the slow progress of the woman's weathered hand sampling the bread, seeming to stall her explanation.
Child, do you not know? It was decreed that you vanished, along with the king and queen that day. The kingdom of Edgewater is now without an heir, and must remain so for your own protection, for now.
Lowering her gaze to the half-eaten bread she holds, June slowly shakes her head. Her lifting eyes catch the way Dame Forrester wrings her hands, then land on her uneasy expression.
There's more you're not telling me, isn't there?
Yes, child, there is.
Dame Forrester's shoulders slump, under the heavy weight of bad tidings, making June's stomach clench.
Your parents were just the first. 6 months ago, the royal family of Airedale, king, queen, and prince, were attacked and found dead in this very forest. There's an evil afoot, casting dark shadows across the kingdoms one by one. If the pattern proves correct, I fear another will happen any day now.
Dead? The Airedale royals found dead? Could my parents be?
No. She refuses to believe it and chokes down her building urge to scream. Wouldn't she have felt it somehow, deep down inside? Perhaps not, with the vast void that has surrounded her heart these past long months. The dampness of her tears, falling freely, leave her cheeks tacky when she wipes the droplets away. The two finish their meager morsels in silence. June takes this time to consider Dame Forrester's revelations. Brushing crumbs from her fingers, she readies herself to ask further questions that may summon unpleasant answers, but the words die on her tongue. The snap of twigs, the crunch of heavy footfalls, and the rustle of branches in the far distance turn her head. Then come the voices, breaking the serene silence of the forest. The supposed aunt and uncle call out Kaylee's name, chilling her blood. Jumping to her feet in alarm, June glances across to Dame Forrester, to find her calmly standing and gathering her satchel, before lifting her walking stick high overhead. Spellbound, June blinks rapidly, as Dame Forrester utters a string of words she doesn't understand. With groans like old floorboards, the trees begin to shift and move. Their roots lift from the soil and drape across the traveled path, burying the tips again, as they haul their trunks over the grass to burrow anew, into the earth. As the trees trade homes, the path vanishes beneath them, without any sign of its existence. The branches bend, swaying gently, as they tip forward to sweep the ground, covering up any and all tracks the girl may have left behind, before standing tall and proud once more. Both the aunt and uncle's frightened screams split the tranquility, rousing birds from their nests. The sounds of trampling retreat as June's pursuers flee the forest. Marveling at the magic, June whispers,
Grandmother, are you a witch?
I'm the guardian of this forest, child. Any soul within its shade that I find and deem worthy is under my protection. Now come, let's get you dressed and properly prepared for your quest.
The two depart, leaving the disturbing cries to fade far behind them. After another hour of walking through the trees, a tired and relieved June catches her first glimpse of Dame Forrester's ivy-covered, 2-story stone cottage in the distance. As they step out of the forest and onto a hardened, earth-packed lane, she admires the sun-bleached rocks and blooming wildflowers that trim the sides of the walkway as it winds between the main road and the cottage. Taking in the sweet fragrance of the flowers gives her the boost of courage she needs to ask.
Grandmother, why are you helping me?
Pausing by a manicured herb and vegetable garden to the right of the cottage, Dame Forrester rests her hand on the wrought iron gate. June notices the new stiffness, in the old woman's narrow shoulders, as the elder turns, glancing back at her.
I'm only helping myself, child. 'Twas my land where the royal family of the mountains were found. 'Tis my forest where a vanished princess turns up. 'Tis I that they will blame and burn as a witch, for treason against multiple crowns and kingdoms. Is it not reason enough, my child?
A blush heats June's cheeks, as she studies her threadbare shoes.
Forgive me, grandmother. I hadn't thought of that.
When she peeks up, Dame Forrester bestows a soft smile on her, before continuing to the arched wooden door of the cottage. There, she leans the walking stick against the ivy-laden stone wall. The moment the handle makes contact, a tendril of the ivy lifts itself like a serpent, and curls away from the solid stick.
How do you do that?
June asks, as the vine waggles its tip in a wave that she tentatively returns. The tendril wraps around the walking stick, holding it in place.
Don't worry about that, child. Head inside to the second floor. In the first room, you will find a chest at the foot of the bed with some clothes that should fit. Change. Do something with your hair. Then return to the main floor once I'm able to see the princess you truly are, under that forest ground.
June wrinkles her nose at her dirty nightgown.
I don't see how changing into finery will help me remain in disguise. I did bring a change of clothes that may be better suited for such a task.
Dame Forrester's dark eyes crinkle at the edges, a sunspot of mirth shining in their depths, and she begins to laugh.
A dirty peasant girl is common enough, true, but the granddaughter of a dame will not be refused, at least not in these parts.
Nor would a princess, but I feared I'd be recognized, so I thought it best to avoid looking as such.
Dame Forrester turns away from her, starting back down the path to the vegetable garden. Pausing once, as she glances over her shoulder, a smile, still playing on her lips.
When you're done, return to the main floor. It's there that you'll soon meet your traveling companion.
At the easy dismissal, June's chest tightens with a sudden and stark loneliness. She doesn't want to be left to fend for herself again. Running a toe through the dirt between two path stones, her gaze follows Dame Forrester's departure with growing dread.
What are you going to do?
She calls out. Dame Forrester laughs.
I'll be gathering herbs and vegetables to sell in town. You'll need coin and proper travel rations for your journey.
If you sell all your vegetables for me, won't you go hungry?
Tonight there will be time for questions over the details, child. For now, go wash up and enjoy it.
Lighter on her feet, June nods to her newest guardian. A warmth floods through her chest, as she looks at the older woman, and a giggle almost escapes her lips as she thinks to herself, just how much they've already come to sound like a true family. The fleeting moment turns bittersweet, overridden by the endless longing to see her parents again. Swinging open the cottage door, June steps inside, only to be stopped mid-stride by the broad expanse of a chest covered with patches of drying mud, trying to exit at the same time. With a startled scream, she quickly backsteps, jumping away from the tall man.
Watch where you're going.
He barks. She's unable to take her surprised gaze from his face, or the intense angry stare he casts down at her. The long pointed ears, protruding through the loose mud-caked hair clinging to his face, mark him for an elf. With his features masked by damp hair and the filthy cloak draped over his humped back, she's not sure what to make of him or of the severity of his deformity. His filth-covered hand stopped the door from swinging into his nose. Summoned by the scream, Dame Forrester scurries between the pair.
Hush now, both of you. June, upstairs to your room, child. Do as I said.
With a stern look to the disheveled elf, she adds.
Cedric, you need cleaning up too. I take it you found the pig.
Yes, ma'am. The fence is repaired and she's back in her pen.
With order restored, Dame Forrester smiles.
My thanks. Introductions will be made once we've all had a chance to freshen up. The two of you will be embarking together tomorrow, after all.
With him?
With her?
A chorus
No.
follows. Cedric stands his ground, his arms folded across his chest as he studies June, from matted hair to the ragged hem of her dress around her knees. She, in turn, presents her back to the rude, mud-wallowing elf still blocking her way inside.
Who is she?
He asks.
My granddaughter. As you can see, she has had a harrowing journey already. Stand aside, young man, and do let her in.
Turning back to face the cottage, June startles under Cedric's hawk-eyed assessment, feeling like a mouse trapped beneath a bird of prey's claws. The moment he steps aside, she swallows back her growing fear and enters. Hesitant, she gives the main floor a quick scan, locating a wooden staircase leading up to the second floor. She's not missed the welcoming scent of hickory wood drifting out from the fireplace, nor the velvet settee and chairs placed nearby to enjoy the fire's comfort. On the opposite side of the room, she can just make out a cozy kitchen, with a plate of freshly baked pastries still cooling on the table. The soft clearing of Dame Forrester's throat spurs her onto the stairs. Still feeling Cedric's predatory eyes on her, she slowly climbs, with head held high and back straight, in an attempted show of grace that her attire lacks. Following the hall to the first room, she enters the first doorway into a small, inviting room decorated in light spring colors. Admiring the delicately carved four-post canopy bed, she nearly stumbles over a foot chest next to it. The lid is decorated with a stamped letter J in green. Passing by a polished looking glass makes her jump again, not recognizing her own image.
No wonder he didn't want to let me in.
She tells her reflection. Finding a towel, washcloth, and a packet of grainy soap, she heads to the screened-off tub to begin the hour-long chore of bathing. Once the girl is out of sight, Cedric whispers.
You've got a habit of bringing home wayward children, ma'am.
Do I?
Dame Forrester counters with a grin.
I hadn't noticed. Though had I discovered you in your present state, I would have screamed in fright too.
The exchange leaves more questions in his mind about the girl. She didn't look like a person of breeding. Yet her mannerisms suggested as much, leaving him with the impression she belongs here, and he does not. Dame Forrester's chuckle intrudes.
Off you go.
With a nod, he departs for his room, adjoining the barn on the far side of the cottage to wash and change. Cedric works to clean the mud and ichor from his hair and skin, thoughts drifting back to the morning. Retrieving the pig from the bandits wasn't an easy task, with their 5 to his 1. 2 if you counted the pig, as it did trip up a couple adversaries in the fight. That must have been when they dropped the scrolled missive he picked up. Drying his hands and tossing the towel over his shoulder, he reaches into the pocket of his soiled and discarded trousers to retrieve it. He reads it again.
And extinguish fire with water. See.
He slips the scroll into the pocket of the cleanly pressed dress slacks he tugs on next. His hurry to deliver it to the dame prompted his swift entry into her abode in such an unkept fashion. An act that still flushes him with shame.
What does it mean? Are the fire royals next to be attacked?
He brushes out the damp curtain of his long white hair. Slipping into a fresh pair of boots and securing his good cloak loosely about his shoulders, he turns and leaves, striding purposefully back toward the cottage. He wants a private moment to speak with Dame Forrester, needing answers. Opening the cottage door, Cedric overhears.
Thank you, grandmother.
Think nothing of it, child. Come sit with me and tell me what plans you have thus far.
Chairs scrape the floor, then the girl is heard again.
I thought I would go to Edgewater and begin my search there. Now I'm not so sure.
Why is that, child?
I can't help wondering what would draw the royals of Airedale from their mountain peaks. They're rather reclusive, and have never shown an interest in the happenings of the other realms before.
Cedric steps in, closing the door behind him. Spotting the two sitting at the table, he blinks in disbelief. It's not the raggedy child that speaks with the dame, but a young lady of developing, delicate beauty. A plait of strawberry blonde hair drapes over the shoulder of her pastel green frock of soft, brushed velvet, finished with an ivory lace smock decorated with tiny stitching of ivy.
May the fates provide, when this one comes of age.
He thinks.
Dame Forrester will need their aid, to keep the callers at bay.
Cedric interjects, stepping over to join the ladies at the table.
I can answer that.
He settles in a seat, adjusting sideways to fit his hump comfortably.
It's a well-known fact that the Prince of Airedale was betrothed to the Princess of Edgewater. So, when the Edgewater royals disappeared, the royals of Airedale were honor-bound to join the search. They were successful, to a degree. They found.
Betrothed?
June ogles the young man.
When was this arrangement made? I've heard nothing of the sort.
Dame Forrester provides the answer calmly, as she pats the girl's hand.
Months after the princess was born. As I recall, the kingdoms rejoiced for years, deeming such a match would finally unite the four elemental realms. Alas, with the prince's death and the princess lost to us, it will never come to pass. Cedric, you were saying they found something.
Yes.
Cedric masks his feelings over the casual dismissal of two royals, by clearing his throat.
The royals of Airedale went to Edgewater to begin their search. There, among the king's ledgers, they located a missive dated 6 months prior, from King Viti and Queen Aelan of the High Elves of Life, asking to meet with them on a matter of great importance to them all.
He pauses as Dame Forrester looks across to June, who slowly nods. Cedric tucks away the silent exchange to be examined later, along with many other questions still stewing at the back of his mind.
How exactly does this young lady fit into all this?
Please, do continue, Cedric,
says Dame Forrester.
Ah, yes.
He begins with an awkward cough.
When the Airedalans arrived on elven lands, they were welcomed by King Viti and Queen Aelan with open arms. The meeting had indeed taken place, and the Edgewater royals had planned to work to confirm the information exchanged. They set sail for the kingdom of Blacksand's death, where the discovery was first made. The elves told the Airedalans, Princess Kaylee hadn't traveled with them.
With a gasp, June interrupts.
How do you know all that?
I joined the Airedale royals' travel party at the behest of my aunt, Queen Aelan. We planned to chase this new lead, but not directly in the Edgewater royals' tracks. We chose a longer route that would allow us to gather information on the whereabouts of the missing princess as well. That's what brought us to Wild Woods.
Dame Forrester whispers.
The crossroad forests between the four realms.
Yes.
Cedric confirms.
We never made it to the Wild Woods Tavern Inn, where we'd hoped to spend the night and gather any relevant gossip. Instead, we were ambushed by minions of the Shadow People hiding in the trees.
He bows his head in shame, leaving Dame Forrester to pick up the narrative.
Where I found Cedric and the party's messenger clinging to life among the bodies of their dead comrades. The day before, I'd heard through the town gossips that a ship transporting the Royal Elven Healers of Life Isles was due to arrive. So, when I found Cedric, I sent word to the docks informing Queen Aelan that her nephew lay at death's door and was in need of her healing.
Cedric's gaze sweeps across the table to quietly study June, who sits transfixed as he murmurs.
A debt that will take me 2 lifetimes to repay.
He's surprised at the sudden pallor of June's skin, and the humble hang of her head, avoiding his gaze. Seeking a distraction, he reaches into his pocket, and pulls out the missive found this morning.
Mistress, what do you make of this?
After handing it over, he leans back in his chair, waiting as they both read it. He's not surprised when Dame Forrester's head jerks up to meet his gaze.
Where did you find this?
She demands, as June reaches to take the paper scrap.
It must have fallen from the pocket of one of the men from Shadow I fought this morning, trying to get back the pig.
Worry tightens Cedric's throat, as June's countenance pales like fresh fallen snow, staring in open horror at the missive she holds in a trembling hand.
I have to warn them,
she whispers.
And you will, child. I believe you may be the only one who can get close enough to do so now. They know and trust you on sight, correct?
June nods, tears trailing down her delicate cheeks.
Grandmother, it's been so long. I've no idea where to find them.
Dame Forrester thinks a moment.
Then there is no other option,
she says, with a bold upward gesture of her finger.
We all go to town tomorrow and learn all we can.
Offering June a smile, in an attempt to cheer her up, Cedric adds.
I'll take the Tavern Inn. There's always news volunteered from loose lips.
June looks from one to the other and murmurs.
I suppose I can see what the other children know.
That's the spirit,
Cedric says around a grin. As the trio prepare to retire for the night, Dame Forrester makes one last request.
Would you be so kind as to fetch a pair of water buckets for our rooms, Cedric?
Having never set foot upstairs before, Cedric concludes the dame wants a private word with him.
Yes, ma'am.
Returning from filling the buckets at the well, Cedric climbs the stairs and spots 2 doors left ajar. He stops at the first and glances inside as he sets down a bucket. June stands before a closed chest holding a light pink night shift in a room that looks custom-made for her. Not too bright and simple, as for a child. Nor too frilly or refined, to be a noble woman's choice of decor. Wondering if it's an illusion, he studies the room again with the heightened intensity of his gift, inherited from his mother, to detect all signs of magic. A light layering of dust covers most of the surfaces from disuse. Except the foot chest with a single handprint disturbance created today, and printed with her initial. As if it had been waiting there for her. Nevertheless, no glimmers of magic are detected. Quietly, he steps to the second doorway. His eyes are instantly drawn to the painting hanging over the bed's headboard. Depicted in rich oil paints, Dame Forrester peers back at him, holding an infant beside a young woman, who's her spitting image. He searches for hints of illusion and finds none.
By the fates.
He mutters,
The girl really is Dame Forrester's granddaughter.
Cedric, is it you?
Yes, ma'am.
She steps into view and follows his gaze to the painting.
3 generations of Forrester women. Quite the sight, don't you think?
He can only stare back at her, bewildered. After a moment, she casts a glance toward the girl's room, then whispers to him.
I value her life more than my own, Cedric. Promise that should anything happen to me, you will be there to protect her.
Cedric swallows hard, floored by the unexpected proclamation. Instead of offering him answers, she is asking for his elven pledge. An unbreakable bond that will bind June to him forever. The request weighs heavily on him as he studies the dame, to whom he owes his life. How can he refuse? Lifting his free hand to cover his heart, he gives her a formal bow.
I pledge my word.
Thank you.
Her gentle hand pats his shoulder, then retrieves the water bucket from him. The door clicks closed, leaving Cedric to stare at the wooden planks, as the reality of what he's just committed to sinks in. Taking a calming breath, he turns back through the hall to leave, but his pledge makes him pause at the first entry again. The young lady still hasn't moved.
Mistress?
She turns as if in a daze.
I'll be taking my leave now, mistress. Unless there is something more you need?
No thank you, Cedric. Good night.
Reaching in, he pulls the door closed, leaving her to work out her thoughts. Suddenly in need of fresh air, he bounds down the stairs 2 at a time, leaving the cottage for his own room, where he can pretend his fate is still his own.